Welcome to Cosplayers Paradigm, a podcast about everything cosplay related, from the conventions that you love to the people that you love even more. And now, let's get on to the show.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cosplayers Paradigm. This will be the last episode of Season 2, so I am grateful that I have guesting with me today, Micah, and he is an interesting individual who reached out to me. Not only is he a cosplayer, but he's creating a new superhero, and he's got many other endeavors that he's been working on in between. So we're happy to have you on here. Micah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm a general artist since I was a kid. So I've been into all types of music and painting and drawing. I just recently got into writing this past couple of years, and I wanted to create my own, essentially like a Dungeons and Dragons universe. But I wanted it to be superheroes and horror. I always enjoyed those two genres. So I did that these past 2 years, created a universe essentially, and I started with a single superhero called the Silent Scream, and essentially he is uh, I guess you would say he's a poor man's Batman. He doesn't have all that money and resources that Batman does, but he is quite resourceful and has quite the amount of ability, and it evolves beyond that into something as kind of like I guess it would be like a Lovecraft style horror mixed with Lord of the Rings, that kind of genre mixture.
So that sounds amazing. Now, you did give me a small little excerpt to go ahead and start it off, and I have to agree. Um, a poor man's Batman mixed in with the turmoil that Spider-Man has to go with the realization of his powers to reality around him, the D&D style mixed in with the occult, all of it. I mean, it's a really good blend. I'm liking it so far. So I
Thank,
cannot wait to see more and hear about it.
thank you. Yeah, I'm actually in the process of finishing up the sequel, which the first one I did is really just an intro to the universe. So it's very basic, just to get the characters. And then the sequel is really going to dive into all the chaos and the evolution of everything, as well as the drama and the superhero evolving himself. So it'll be fun.
Sounds like it. But you know, that's a smart way to do it. The first one is always great for a nice introduction. Don't oversaturate all information put in there in one novel, one book. Make sure to keep it, guessing a little bit more while waiting and giving just enough to be able to have a nice substantial story. And then the sequels can go from there, fill in the extra blanks that people are going, I want to know more. Where's this more? What else do I need to know? So that's a great way to start. I like that.
Thank you.
Now, you were talking about you have been in music, you've been in other things as well, but you also mentioned about going out cosplaying because it was something that you wanted to get into as well. What kind of cosplays have you done in the past?
So I've always enjoyed cosplaying when I was younger. I would always go to the Renaissance Festival every summer here in New York. It's one of my favorite things to do in the summertime and see all the different costumes and buy from the artists because they make their own and you can buy from them. So I would build my own. I always enjoyed ninjas. I always, when I was younger, I always enjoyed the Ninja Turtles, so I was into ninjas. I loved the Highwaymen, the French Highwaymen, if
Okay.
you're unfamiliar. They're essentially just they had the tricorn hats and the masks and the really neat coats and the sword play. So I was always into swords. So something I've been kind of combining is this. It's almost like a Ghost Rider style mixture of a Highwayman. So if you could imagine that, it would be those two things.
Oh, I
So
can
it's,
definitely imagine that.
yeah, so it's kind of like that. It's like a modern Highwayman, but Ghost Rider style.
I like that. Now, when it comes down to the Highwayman style, um, there was a movie that came out a while back, and it'll always pop into my head because the fighting style, the sword play, the tricorder hat, the that time period, and it has Mark Dacascos in it as well. It's called Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yes,
Of course, that
I'm
will
familiar.
always hit. Very good movie, but it was actually cut. There was a lot more footage in that movie.
Hmm.
And you know that fight scene that takes place right when they first get off the horses, right
Actually,
somewhere in the beginning.
I actually haven't got to see it. I just read about it. Essentially, I still have to
Oh,
watch
okay.
it.
So when you see that part, that was cut about at least another 15 to 20 minutes.
Hmm.
There was that much more of a fight scene that took place, and they cut it down to what was there. Still good, but know that in the deleted scene and online, there's a lot more.
Very cool. I have to check it out.
So sadly, I've still not gone to a Renfest. I want to. Do not get me wrong, I do. I just have not had the chance. But this past year has been an adventure, and I've gone to a lot more places than I thought I could. Budgeting became more of a savvy thing, so I'm hoping this year I'm going to be able to go to more cons, as well as check out Renfest and other endeavors in between. I mean, the country has so much to offer, so many different things. If you're a fan of just anime, they got anime cons. If you're a fan of the Renfest, they got medieval, they've got Oriental, just all different styles of the genre. It's kind of overwhelming, but at the same time, exciting. So here's hoping to see what 2025 brings to all of us.
Yeah, I agree. I've always wanted to get more out to more Comic Cons and anime cons and game cons. But like you said, it's one of those things that you just really have to. You got to put the effort into going and getting all the information, and that's just something I just haven't put the time into. So I have to catch up.
I definitely know the feeling. Going to only one con a year, all I did was, oh, there's a ticket, go have fun. But actually planning it out and thinking, oh, there's more to do this for all these other cons, it was eye opening.
Hmm.
It's not as overwhelming as people think it is once you get used to it, but it is a task. Definitely do not sell yourself short because you don't want to show up there, you got your ticket, but where are you parking? Did I remember food? How do I get back?
Yeah.
So, which is actually the problem I'm focusing on right now. And we'll see if that can actually muster up the rest of it by the end of today. Now, in the future, other cosplays that you're thinking about doing as well, other than that, the Renfest style?
Oh yeah, yeah. I always had an admiration for the Japanese culture and samurai. So I've been working on an idea for a very specific style of samurai. That's
Okay.
kind of it's kind of a mixture of again, kind of a mixture of ideas. So I'm still developing that. It's going to be part of my series as well, my graphic novel series, The Silent Scream. So it's kind of a hint that it does venture into other timelines when it as it evolves, different dimensions. So it's going to combine a lot of different things, a lot of different interests that I have.
That's good, though. If Marvel has showed us, as well as many other places, the multiverse is vast. So whatever idea you have does not mean that it can't work because technically there's somewhere out there it is working.
Yeah,
So it's great to hear this kind of stuff, collaborations, mixing different ideas, really getting into that creativity and just bringing us under. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's always been something I always enjoyed was when things are unusually combined, like the things you really don't see together. It's
Yeah,
just something it's neat to see.
this is true. Recently, I went ahead and saw someone's artwork that I didn't know existed of a samurai Punisher,
Uh,
and that was amazing.
yeah, that is cool.
So yeah, I mean, it's the same thing in cosplay when you go to different cons. You might see someone dressed up as someone but maybe they took a different turn on it, and it's a collaboration of something else. Like this past con that I went to, I dressed up as a Pokemon samurai.
Very
So
nice.
the kimono essentially was black with blue rings, so it was a shiny Umbreon, and it had the hood. So once I put the hood up, the ears were there too. And I did a sash across, got some pants that matched it because I didn't have anything else yet. and grabbed my sword, slashed it on there, and there I am.
Very nice.
Nice little fun last minute collaboration, but yeah, it makes for fun.
Yeah, it does. It's fun to, especially when people get really creative at the Comic Cons. It's just fun to see all the creativity just come alive.
This is very true. Now you mentioned you're also a musician.
Yep. And I am. I've been a musician since I was about 15 or so. Uh,
Okay.
Off and on, I would play shows with a couple bands. I'd play the keyboard for like a. It was more like I guess you could say it was like radio metal. So it like kind of popish but still heavy. And then I played the bass for kind of an electro rock band. So it was like the same kind of feel, but I was playing the bass instead. So I did that for a few years, quite a number of years, and then yeah, I just kind of been focusing on my own now, focusing on my own style.
Nice. So what essentially got you into music?
Oh, which is really funny. It was just basically my friends and I just driving along one day and hanging out, and we go, you know what we need to do? We need to start a band. So we all just kind of laughed and we're like, okay, let's pick an instrument and get going. So we just started playing music, and then it just snowballs, once it starts.
It's funny you say that because I've had a few different guests on the show where when they started something, it was along the same way. The most notable was a group of cosplayers. They only were together for about a year, and were on my show, and they said the same thing. They were talking about we should go ahead and form a group of cosplayers together and do meetings, and we should get together and focus on this, write up, chapters and all that. And it was a joke, but they showed up, and then they showed up again, and they're like, "Wait a second, did we just make a group?" Yes, we did. I'm making shirts, and like I said, it snowballs together. But this is what happens when you have like-minded people. You vibe with on such a level that it's an idea, but now it's more and it grows. And then it becomes part of you.
Yeah, yeah. And then you really kind of add your own, I guess, flair or your own style to it, and then it just, everybody's kind of blending and feeding off of each other's creativity. It turns into something really cool if you allow it to.
Oh yeah. There's actually a particular group that shows up to one of the cons here in Michigan. They show up every year, or almost every year. And honestly, I would love to see them pair up with a particular celebrity who's also a musician because they're both, all of them deal with string instruments, but all of them deal with an amazing style and sound. So the collaboration, I just think, would be amazing.
Hmm.
Don't know if
Okay.
it'll ever happen, but just imagine a very vibrant violinist and two harp players that have electric harps, regular harps, and they don't just play the typical classic. They have played Metallica, they have played Guns N' Roses. It's like that's a thing. And let me tell you what, they're amazing.
Yeah, that does sound really cool. And that's another thing that I kind of enjoy is uh, when you kind of dive into the older, more classical style instruments, and then you mix it with the modern music. It's just really pretty, especially if it's like out of out of sync with what you would expect. So something I like to listen to on a regular is this. It's like a medieval cover of Thunderstruck, and I just love it because it just sounds so cool on a lute. It's pretty.
I've heard Thunderstruck played by many different people. I've heard it done kind of like a redneck style with the backyard garage band stuff. I've heard it dwarf metal, essentially, heavy metal. I don't know how to say this one properly, so I'm going to say it's more like a Scandinavian or whatnot with a very interesting instruments that normally you would see like Aboriginal, like really old school handmade carved instruments. And it's just, how is this song that has been made so popular by a group called AC/DC been redone by so many others in different formats that it can still resonate like the first time you heard it and just hit on such a level? It's like the power of music.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
But of course, that's like with everything. You know, you take the same passion for cosplay, take the same passion for your artwork. You know, maybe you're, a digital artist where you use a computer, or perhaps you're old school and you like to use paints or pencil and brush. And it's the same thing. Once you put that spin on, you get that feeling from you. It becomes more.
Yeah, yeah. It lets you kind of detach your thoughts and your mind and just kind of allows your soul to come out and manifest into what you're doing. It's beautiful.
Very true. I could not say it better than myself. Now, you were gracious enough to go ahead and send some photos about your character for the game, for the comic.
Yeah.
So, due to technical difficulties, the way I wanted to showcase them did not work, but I did work something else out. So, let's go through these here and talk a little bit about them.
Sure. Sure. So this is the original that I wanted to do for the cover of my audiobook slash audio theater version of my graphic novel.
Okay.
And essentially it's the scene that's pretty climactic for the story. It's the headstone of the main character's father, which is essentially a black obelisk. That was his headstone. And you can see it gets destroyed. Um, and the essentially, if you could see close enough, there's a little mask. It's a Oni mask that's hanging from the top of it, and there's a sword, samurai sword, that's leaning up against it, which is both the main characters. And essentially, it's just an alluding to uh, evolution of the character from where he starts losing his father, and then where he is now.
Okay. And by the looks of it, this is a little bit of the main character.
That's him, yep, Lorenzo. He's quite a character. He is very athletic and has a lot of martial arts abilities because essentially he's a hermit. All he does is uh, play music on his piano and practice martial arts and reads. So that's all he does all day. And he does venture down to a local diner every day to eat. So that's his routine. And I made this as a card. Basically it's an introduction to the uh, tabletop game that I'm developing for the series, and this is his game card or his character card.
Nice. I might have to go ahead and introduce you to a friend of mine because he actually loves dealing with superheroes. He's actually been doing a lot of the tabletop games on a Discord server as well.
Very cool.
Let's see. Now we have.
Yeah, and this is a box that I designed. Essentially, it is a transport box that was created by his father, and it was given to him as his inheritance after his father passed away. And if you go into the novel, the introduction, which I can give a spoiler because it's not a big deal. It's essentially it's the box that Lorenzo arrives in because he is the clone of the original Lorenzo, uh, and this is essentially a box that grows people essentially. And if you can see, it's kind of has a monitor and some monitoring devices and some liquid up top to kind of feed them, and it's all padded so it doesn't, the embryo doesn't get hurt while it's transporting in this box.
Okay. Let's see.
And this is
Now
the
this
book
looks like a
cover.
little bit of a design you have for the character.
Yeah, this is the book cover here for the first novel. It's I used a tree as the inspiration for the back. It's kind of like a spray paint logo on a tree, and then
Oh, okay.
yeah. So this is just the book cover.
Nice. A more streamlined version right there, but of the SS for the silent scream.
Yeah, yeah. Which is interesting because when I designed that, I found out after there's a Celtic rune symbol that is U, and that's the name of it, and it just
Okay.
means rebirth, which I found that to be interesting that it means rebirth.
Which I believe you sent that one as well.
Did I? Yep,
See,
there it is.
yeah.
You, you know, it's wisdom and rebirth. It's very cool. It was one of those happenstance. And then this is the sequel, which is the inspiration for the sequel, Therese. It's Giant and Thorn.
Okay.
But
Yep.
the sequel that I created is called Visceral.
Oh, okay. I like that
That's the
title.
name. Thank you. Yeah, I'm working on that at the moment, Visceral. It's a
Oh,
three-part sequel.
I know someone who definitely loves ancient lore, from Roman, Greek mythology, other things like that. So I'm gonna have to tell them about this because I think they might actually like this as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah,
And
this is
then,
the symbol that we were just talking about. Essentially, I just interpreted that logo as a duality between two things, which Visceral is the name of the corporation that is formed by these two companies called Blackstone and Polarity. And they formed together to create a company called Visceral, which essentially is the antagonist of the story.
makes sense. Who more of the antagonists to go and be two companies who decide they want to form a profit?
Yeah, yeah. And the one is Polarity is focused on uh, future technology. Uh,
Okay.
so and so it's like kind of exploring the idea that technology is going to advance and kind of blend between human or bio organic and electronics. So it'll be like cyborgs, that type of thing.
So essentially, kind of like how you were mentioning a little bit across with D&D, kind of like the Warforged.
Yeah, yeah, very similar.
Nice.
Yeah,
Rather than
with
taking just to its typical cyborg, a little bit more elements to itself mixed in with a few other elements on top of that.
yeah, yeah. I wanted to kind of blend a couple of different ideas just to kind of give it a different look, different flavor.
Hey, I say blending is good. That's my opinion.
And
And
then
then,
here's Lorenzo. Yeah, this is the AI version of Lorenzo, which I thought was really cool that AI made this. And then I just kind of edited it a little bit just to give it a little bit more of its look.
that would definitely be a really cool cosplay.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
It has that ninja look, the cape, the hood, kind of like a kind of like a rogue and a ranger mixed from D&D, mixed in with
Yeah,
the Japanese culture.
yeah. That's a
Yeah,
very good interpretation. Ranger Ninja.
well, my character numerous times was a ranger. I wasn't very good at it, but I still liked the character. So I was always a hooded, cloaked, person out in the woods.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites is the Ranger.
It's versatile on different levels.
And then this is the antagonist, direct antagonist. He has a honey mask, which is like essentially this is the scene where he does some terrible things, and yeah, it's just before Lorenzo kind of evolves into himself.
Okay. I do like that shot, that looking up, seeing the full moon out in the night sky. It kind of reminds me of old video game back from the 80s.
Very cool. Yeah, so I felt the same way when I was making it. I was like, this kind of reminds me of like a Nintendo game that is being played out as a movie. So it was kind of the inspiration. I just kept going with it. It was like old Nintendo.
Yeah, and the funny part is the old Nintendo game, for me at least, what comes to mind when I see this, I see the Oni mask. We know it's about ninjas in the woods, the full moon, and this is the bad guy, and we're talking about the good guy, the original Ninja Gaiden.
Ah, yes, yes. That was a
That
big
opening,
inspiration.
that opening beginning right there, where the father fights the other ninja and the moon, the rush, the jump, and everything is like that. Still today is one that always comes to mind.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong, games are good, but they don't have that simplistic but at the same time powerful look like that. In just a short period of time to really cascade their story.
Yeah, yeah. I think they had to do more back then with music and visual because of the fact that it was only 8-bit or 16-bit. So nowadays it's like you have so many, I guess, visuals and effects that you don't actually have to really put too much into it to kind of make it wow people. So
Yeah,
that's kind of something I always really kind of hold on to is that Nintendo inspiration.
nostalgia is good. And it did showcase, like you said, that it doesn't take much to go ahead and really bring a point across.
Yeah, yeah, that less is more.
This is true. And that's why, we talk about that with cosplay as well. So many people focus that they feel like they have to buy tons of stuff to, make it right. But no, you can make it yourself, or you can just barely put something together and it'll still look good and people will understand. I mean, sometimes less is more. More is awesome, don't get me wrong, but the inclusivity of everyone, you show up and they're like, hey. And sometimes it can be as simple as a ninja. I
Yeah,
mean, they're everywhere. Well,
yeah,
which one are you? Well, maybe if I go ahead and do this, I'm from Naruto, you know,
exactly.
just to be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, just a different spin. That's what makes it fun.
Yep. There is one cosplay that I'd like to do that is a ninja, but I haven't got the fabric for it yet, and I having difficulties making stuff. So making the mask has been hard, but it's going to be a fun one. Anyone who's a fan of Mortal Kombat, the first thing people think about is Scorpion or Sub Zero.
Oh yeah, they're the best.
Nope, Reptile.
Oh, okay. I like it. I like it. Go with the opposite. He was a real cool character too in the movie, the original movie. I know it gets a lot of shade, but I always liked it. I always liked the original.
A lot of people give it a lot of shame, but the second one was what was worse. The fight scenes were fun, but the acting was just a little too over the top, trying to get that cartoonish, game feel. But there's only so much you can do with this script, the script. But what was fun though is Keith Cook is the one who was under the mask as Reptile. And before watching Mortal Kombat, I had actually seen Keith Cook in other movies. So when I found that out, it's like that's why I like him so much. His style's different. It was clean, it was fast, and it had that you know that viper-esque mentality of a reptile.
Yeah, I always liked
So
him. I thought that they did a great job with his character, especially with the I guess it would be CGI for the reptile. I
yeah,
think it's CGI.
we were disappointed when we went to the theater and we saw it was CGI. And then it got to Outworld. And as soon as he hit the statue went ahead and pulled him in and he became the human. And you heard reptile. My best friend who was there at the theater with us literally jumped out of his seat. He goes, yes!
Yeah, excitement, pure joy.
And let me tell you what, a 6'4" big guy right there raising his arms towards the front, yelling that. The whole theater was still in agreement, but there was no mistaking. He's right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
was a
but
great moment.
yeah, but back in the day, I mean, the styles were different, so people got to understand that. Throughout the years, depending on what studios that are working on things, just like a cosplayer, some of them have a different feel to them. They tried to go ahead and be more modern than going with a video game in the first one, and it worked better. In the second one, they went more video game where, oh my god, my acting is over the top. But they got a great cast of people still. So it was, if you like it for the nostalgia, you like it for the nostalgia, regardless.
Yeah, yeah. Try to cater to everybody.
Yeah. Besides, having the villain being played by Brian Thompson, I said, yep, sign me up.
Yeah,
What can I
he,
say? He's been
it's
in so many.
I was gonna say it's one of those things that if you have a bias, it definitely is going to pull you in, especially for certain actors, just because they pull out such a great performance, and you're just like automatically hooked.
Very true. That's why I was impressed as well that the Sub Zero in the second movie was also played by Keith Cook. And Chris Casamassa, of course, reprised his role both in the first and the second one as Scorpion. who can't go wrong with the Red Dragon himself from WMAC, Masters of the Martial Arts. I mean, it's all this stuff, and then we love it because we'll cosplay these characters. We'll reminisce, and the coolest part is you don't have to be exact. What is the ninja? Black hood, black undergarments, couple arm bands to go ahead and show for a little bit of protection, and whatever color it is, tunic and the belt.
Yeah.
Do they have to be solid? Do they have to be pleated, armored? Whatever. You got the colors, and you got the character.
Yeah. And that was another thing I wanted to kind of dive into, because there were so many depictions of ninjas, like you were saying, and there's no rules really. It's really just a matter of what you feel is appropriate for that style. And something I always kind of enjoyed was how they used their environment to blend in, not necessarily certain looks. So something I kind of dove into was very natural materials. So the character has he uses deer leather essentially because he doesn't have any material. So he
Okay.
ends up coming across a deer that he admires, which gets killed, and in order to kind of preserve and honor the deer that he admired, he uses its hide to create a cape or a cowl. So just something to kind of honor the animal.
Kind of like in Conan the Barbarian, when he finally escaped and found the sword, the Atlantean. Takes out the wolves. We don't see it, but we see afterwards he's wearing, furs all fashioned from them because they essentially made him survive.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, the depiction of ninjas, stuff like that, can be used and interpreted in many different ways. But when anyone ever thinks about a ninja mask, everyone
Yeah.
always thinks like the mask is in front and then there's a hood. But when Ninja Gaiden came out years ago in the Nintendo Power, they had a special poster, the center poster of those magazines. The one side was the game, but when you turned it over, it was all this different information about a ninja.
Hmm.
And to this day, I still remember it because it showed the mask and how you can make a ninja mask with only one piece of clothing. It's 1 yard square. So a nice large square piece of black, blue, whatever color you're doing. But what you do is you take the square and you go ahead and take the bottom corner and you fold it across to the other. So now you're making, a triangle. On the side right here that's folded while you're holding the top and the end, slide your head through, bring it to the top, put it over the eyes, tie it in the back, and slide it down. Now, of course, it's simplistic, works good. But their definition afterwards is what stuck. The ninja is known for concealment and being able to go from place to place unknown, undetected. So if someone sees the ninja and he goes around the corner, you can instantly whip it off, turn it around, wrap it around as a sash or something else, and now blends right in with the people.
Which is a really great point, is that it's almost like they are able to vanish in plain sight. So it's like, if you thought about what the idea of ninja is, it's almost like, I always like to imagine back in the day when they had to be like out in public and they had to get close to somebody. They would just look like a commoner or they would look like a beggar. And then eventually they would get close enough to their target and then they would do what they do. But then obviously the other is true as well, where they'd have to get dressed up. They'd have to have their tools or their tricks, and then they'd have to infiltrate something.
And of course, one of the biggest misconceptions is a lot of the tools that they use weren't as elaborate as what we see in the movies. They were more like farm tools or handmade, ready tools, that get the job done.
Yep.
There was no throwing shurikens from like 50 feet away. If anything, that was just to deter the person, not kill them, and only maybe about 10, 5 to 10 feet. But movies go ahead and make it, a lot more fun.
Yep.
Suddenly a ninja can go ahead and scale a wall where there's nothing to grip. Like, hey, more power to him.
Yeah.
But
Which is
it's the whole thing, like
amazing.
creativity, the cinema mixed in together. And I mean, this fuels us for more. Like, oh, I want to dress up as that character. Oh, maybe I can do something like that as well. And I'm all for that. We don't need to go ahead and have it completely accurate, but don't get me wrong. If they do it accurate, then I'll still have to applaud because I'm like that.
Yeah, the
You know,
effort. You got to appreciate the effort.
exactly. But so many people are just they're single-minded. Where, oh my gosh, no, that character's not right. He's supposed to be blue, not red.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you enjoy the movie? Did the movie go ahead and make you go, oh wow, that was cool? Then why nitpick?
yeah, yeah.
It's a
They kind of
movie.
miss it. They miss the point of the whole story, really, or the whole idea. It's just to enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah. Now, of course, if the acting and a few other things are horrendously bad, okay, then I'll kind of agree. But you really have to mess something up to go ahead and make you go. All right. So, do we have any particular cons that we're thinking about going to coming up here in this year so far? You wanted to go
There,
to a few runs, you said, but is there any
yeah,
specific things?
there was one that I saw that's close by in Rochester that I was thinking about trying to get to, but again, it's all up in the air. It's one of those things that it all depends on variables, unforeseen. But the run fair, I tried to make it to if I can, because it's one of those things. It's only like an hour or so away from me, and it's so much fun.
Honestly, there's something I would love to do that's it's technically not a con because it's a business, but just because it's the same thing where it takes you out of the place of the norm and puts you back in time. Medieval time restaurant.
That was always fun.
I keep seeing that because I figured that'll probably be easier to get to than going to a Ren Fest because of prepping for that. Although both would have the same feel, but don't get me wrong, I still want to go and just have to figure out where they're at, when, and like you mentioned about the prep work.
Yeah,
There's
dinner and a
just
show.
Yep, there's just something
Can't beat
about
it.
grabbing a giant turkey leg.
It's the best. It's the best. I know it. Traveling back in time.
Definitely. I wouldn't mind actually getting a hold of a couple weapons and partaking in some of that too. Gosh, some people go ahead and call it LARPing. Others who are in the community call it DAG. There's a few different names for it, but when you look at it, some people think, oh, it's stupid. But a lot of those people who say it's stupid are probably also the same ones who grab you know, Christmas wrapping tube after it's done and start swinging around like it's a sword back from when they were a kid.
Yeah,
What's the
just fun.
difference?
Yeah, it's just fun. That's actually something that I'm working on. It's building a community that focuses on group therapy, uh, sound healing, martial arts, and yoga, but also weapons training. And I'm
Sure.
trying to do it in a way that is safe. Because, like you're saying, you pick up a weapon and swing it around. It could be anything, but at the same time, if you wanted it to be like proper training, it'd have to be a certain weight, a certain shape. But at the same time, you'd want it to be safe, so you're not swinging it around and cut your hand off or cut your leg or something. So
That's true.
something I practice is safe weapon use. Uh, Start with something that is safe, and then once you get real proficient at it, then you can work up to the actual bladed or something hard like metal.
Because of control and how it feels, you could also even add the meteor hammer too.
It's just another thing I'm working on. Yeah, I built this kind of like a makeshift meteor hammer. Um, it's essentially just a ball, like a golf ball, inside of a sock tied to some rope, and it's got some padding on it. So it's like I guess you would call it a practice weapon, but it's really just to swing it around and get the feel of something weighted at the end of a rope. You can swing it around.
That's kind of funny how you did that with the golf ball. I actually did the tennis ball.
Did you? Yeah, and it's
Yep.
safe. Don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. I mean, have you ever been hit with a tennis ball? I know I have numerous times. But having that, spinning that around, and if it hits you, it's not going to hurt, but you'll
Right.
know that you made a mistake.
Yeah, because you'll feel it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the idea, really.
And
So
I
that's
made
something I try.
I made two different versions. I did one using, sorry, I made one with a jumping rope. So that way it was by my body, not too far away distance, allowed me for control. And that one's more like a chain whip, if you will. But cut a hole in the bottom, cut a smaller hole on the top, fed the rope through, and tied the knot. And it stays. It's got a nice weight to it, and it's aerodynamic. So when you're flailing it around, it doesn't go ahead and waver, allowing you to keep control.
Hmm,
But the
very
other one
cool.
I did was with paracord. Well, thicker than paracord, more like the nylon rope. And this one is actually about 25-foot long. So I have it roped up in my hand, but this one allows me when I'm spinning it, I can actually toss it out, bring it back, and do a little bit more.
Very
But
cool.
it's all about control and having fun with it.
Yeah, and that's
But
really
it's
it.
safe.
I think if you could focus on the safety and the control aspect, you really can't go wrong because it's like once you get that down, then you don't really have to worry once you start going further with it. And they see videos of people going right for the real stuff, and it's like they end up hurting themselves big time, and it's not worth it. You know, your practice is mostly just so you get used to something like that, get your body used to it.
I can definitely agree. Cannot say I did the same practice. I learned afterwards, but a lot of the stuff that I learned how to use, I used with the real thing.
Yeah,
And yeah, I got a couple, reminders.
yeah, yeah,
But I can't say I'm great, but better than the beginner, I guess you could say.
yeah.
To a fault.
Put the time in, and that it is really too. It's like you recognize your own development after you put the hours in. You're like, oh yeah, it's starting to get real comfortable.
And that's another wonderful thing about the cons with the cosplay community, with the vendors, everyone else is. A lot of people don't realize this is an outlet. You know, some people are stressed about life, work, everything else, and this is their vacation away from vacation. And they get to be themselves, or it's not mind numbing, but calming rather.
Yeah,
And, it's kind of like its own therapy.
it is.
Retail therapy if you have a lot of money too, but we won't go into that.
Yeah, yeah. If you're on a budget, then you can still do it. Just have to find a
Yeah.
way. And it's true. I mean, if the moment I started doing this practice was it became therapy, and I always call it dance because I just go out in the woods and dance, and it's really you're just swinging around, your sword or whatever object you're using as a weapon. I use this large metal stake that I found in the woods. It's like the perfect shape for a bow staff, and I have like a practice bow staff that I use regularly, but I needed something heavier that I could like evolve to. So I found
Hmm.
this steel stake that I swing around, and it doubles as like a sword practice as well because it's just as big.
It's true. And I myself, not only do I like the flail, the chain whip and meteor hammer, but I like size, tonfa, staff, but I really like a screama.
Mm,
And that one's kind of easy to make too. I mean, you can find sticks in the woods if you want to do it that way, but sometimes they'll break easy.
yeah,
Or you can go to the store, get yourself a wooden dowel, 1 inch thick, cut it a little bit less than half. So you'll make two pieces and cut off a little bit extra so that way they're the right size. Tape them up, put a little grip on there so they don't slide easily, or paint them however you want to, and there you go.
I love it. I love it.
I
I love
mean,
the ingenuity. I think that's really the best part. It's just being creative.
yeah, I kind of grew up with that with my dad. He did a lot of things where, oh, maybe I saw an awesome ninja movie and I wanted nunchucks. Nope, he just went out to the garage, grabbed the wooden dowel, cut it down to the pieces, grabbed some rope, went ahead and put in the carpenter tacks all the way down in there, bent them, and it's like, there you go. It's like,
There you go. Yeah,
yeah,
you
work.
got some.
But
That's
it was
awesome.
but it was the same thing with the bow and arrow. He was talking about, did you want to go ahead and shoot my bow? So of course I did. For a kid, I wasn't too bad, and I was liking it. So what did he do? He went out to the tree and one of our neighbors, and they're like, "What you doing?" Just trying to find the right type of stick, and they're like, "Okay." He got it, shaved the whole skin down, went ahead and rubbed it out to make sure everything was good, put a notch on both ends, put it between his legs, bent it, grabbed a rope, put it across, did that with a carpenter tack again to go ahead and make the guide. And it's like, there, I made you a bow. It's like,
Right? Simple
this
as
is
that.
something you can do.
Yeah. And that's
And
amazing.
and after that, I mean, that's what really got me into everything about wanting to create for myself, art, music, and every year for Halloween, my mom would always make costumes that were just more than the typical store bought. So it got me in all that, but it wasn't until I got to the con community that I realized this is a regular thing
Yeah.
that I started, oh, I got to do this.
Hmm.
But
I think
just
so.
growing up with creativity, people that support, people that, they didn't have to go to the store. They're just like, oh, we got that here. I mean, it's a meme nowadays where they get, yeah, you don't need to go ahead and get Nike. We have Nike at home, you know, stuff like that. But, if you've never grew up that way to see it, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like uh, it's a call for creativity instead of just going out and purchasing something. You get kind of almost like an emotional attachment because you made it with your own hands. It's not just some, frivolous thing that you could break and lose and not care about and go buy another one. So
Hmm.
when it gets damaged or it gets worn out from use, you find a way to keep it going by fixing it up or adding a little something to it. And I
Very
think that's
true.
really what gives it that love because you're putting yourself into it.
And I think that's why my favorite cosplay that I've got so far, because I put a lot of effort into one of the props, is my Ash Williams cosplay. I made that chainsaw by hand, and every time I looked at it, I still kind of get giddy in my mind, but I want to do more,
Yeah.
which I have a plan in the future. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I think I have a way. And it's going to be a cross between a new version of Ash, just because I wanted to redo the chainsaw again, that I can change the blade out for another variation. Don't want to give too much information out right there, but it will definitely be a cross character. And if this works out, it will have sound as well.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Little sound effects. That's always a nice touch when you throw a little sound to it.
I found a plan of how to go ahead and do that, where it's kind of like the plans of doing the sound effects for a lightsaber.
Hmm.
So you have the SD card in there. You have the whole setup that the circuitry and everything. So when you flip the switch and you turn it on, there's a sound, but it has that vibration. So if you move it, it would make the clashes, stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I saved that, and I'm trying to learn how that works, get some tools together. But if I can, I kind of want to make it so it's interchangeable, where the connectors, when I go ahead and pull out the blade, it just detaches, but when I put the new one in, they reconnect. This way the circuit's, solid, but it allows me visually to go ahead and change things.
I got you. Almost like a kind of like contact. So when it touches like a magnet or contact metal, it re-engages the sound or
Exactly.
the sim. Yeah, I think I understand. I've
And
never designed anything like that, but I think I can follow what you're doing.
I mean, when we're looking at a circuit is only as good as the toggle switch. You flip the switch and it breaks the circuit. So I figured instead of a switch to break the circuit by itself, if I have that where the blade itself, when I put it in, the two areas connect the circuit again. And if I take them out, then they break the circuit like if I flip the switch.
Right, right.
So instead of a manual break with something just separating them, it's a full break, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. That's
So
cool too. That's a cool idea. Almost like an accessory. How action figures have accessories to their weapons, so it'd be like an accessory chainsaw, different style.
exactly. And if anyone's familiar with the lightsaber sounds, of course, you look at, you know, Darth Vader or Luke or anyone like that, and it has a clean sound. You listen to Kylo Ren's, and it has a broken, like a violent sound, I guess you could say. Then you
Yeah,
go
it's
ahead and
kind of
listen to
distorted.
it exactly, but then you listen to the Mandalorian's, Dark Saber, and it also has like a crisp little sound too. Each one's got a different, unique sound to them. So that's kind of what I was thinking is if I do that, break it, and then put the new one in, it'll also change the sound depending on what I'm putting it in. Kind of like if I had a lightsaber hilt, I put in Kylo Ren's, vicious. Pull it out, put in the green one, and now it just sounds crisp and clear.
I like that. I like that idea.
I know it's going to take me nearly the whole year to figure this out because I'm a beginner when it comes to the electrical work like that, but if I can pull it off, hey,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. I mean, even if you started with the basic prototype just to get it working and functional, at least that's how I would approach it. It's like a basic stuff and then evolve as you get the foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just a little costly when trying to find the parts, but I think I could figure out a few ways around that.
Oh yeah. Plus
Legally.
YouTube has
Legally.
illegally. Yeah, gotta throw that in there.
Oh yes, but no, it's been a fun experience, and I can't wait to do more. I mean, absolutely love this community, and I'm hoping that this endeavor this week that I've been going through, I have been trying to put the funds together to be able to make it to a con in another state, and I am this close to succeeding.
Very good.
So
I wish you
by the
luck.
time by the time this episode airs, it'll already be past the weekend to find out whether or not I did or didn't. But anyone who follows the page on the shows or anything else, if I make it, there will be posts and there will be reason saying yes, it worked or not.
Very good. So
Now,
I
of
guess
course,
we'll hope for the best in the future.
we are definitely. I am trying my best to get here. I mean, and it's not just because it's a Comic Con. Don't get me wrong. That is a nice reason because it's fun. But it has something going on there that most recently a few doors closed for me, and suddenly a few others opened up, and this was one of them. I have been wanting to be a voice actor for quite some time, and this con has a competition for that. So it just kind of fell on my lap after a couple doors closing, and this opens up right here. Like it's telling me I need to do this. So I'm
Yeah.
signed up. I'm signed up. Now I just have to get there.
Yeah, manifest it. I have to let you know that my phone is just about to die in case I get cut off, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
You're fine. We are actually coming close to the end of the episode, and I was going to ask, what kind of words of wisdom would you give to anyone out there who would like to get into cosplay or feed their creativity?
If I could talk to my younger self, I would say understand that what you like is specifically unique and important. So follow it. You have a very specific and unique story that is coming through in your cosplay. So continue to follow it.
I like that. Definitely a great way to look at it, and I couldn't agree more. Be yourself. Don't let other naysayers tell you otherwise.
No,
Never.
don't let them.
If it doesn't work out, try again. Don't stop.
Yes, just keep going.
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for reaching out. Definitely great getting to know you more.
Yes, it's been great getting to know you as well.
Appreciate that. And to everyone else out there, don't worry. Not going to be gone long. Just taking a small hiatus from season 2 to revamp things for season 3. But of course, everyone always be well, do your best, have fun, and remember, if you can dream, believe, create. Have a great night, everyone.
Are you interested in cosplay, currently a cosplayer, or have an experience you wish to share? Want to be on the show? Simply text, email, or send a message on our Facebook page. I can't wait to hear from you.